We've got some breaking news coming in with regards to this very crucial meeting that took place. Donald Trump said we'll have to think about stiffer economic sanctions on Russia for now because the meeting with Putin went well. He added he may now reconsider what he was thinking of putting in leveling on Russia in terms of tariffs now. That is something which he will now have to reconsider, and he'll go back to it in the next 2 to 3 weeks. So this is a big statement coming in from the US President Donald Trump. He says doesn't have to think about economic sanctions on Russia for now. The meeting with Vladimir Putin went rather well. He added he may now reconsider in the next 2 to 3 weeks the kind of economic sanctions that the United States of America was looking at Russia. We have seen over the past many weeks how US President Donald Trump has said that if the war does not stop, then there will be stricter economic sanctions that will be put on Russia. My colleague Rohit is still with me on the story. Rohit, you were also mentioning something, that there are a lot of things that we have heard, but there are still a lot of other things that we have not heard. The one thing, Rohit, that I did not hear was the word ceasefire, that they will stop the war. And to a lot of people, Rohit, it also seems like this became a mutual, you are patting my back, I am patting your back, kind of a mutual appreciation that was happening between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin.
Exactly. I think Vladimir Putin obviously knows that President Trump likes flattery. He went all in, in their one-on-one meeting, he talked about how the 2020 election was rigged. President Trump, speaking to Fox News, said that's what Vladimir Putin told President Trump, that he believes, that is Putin, that the 2020 election was rigged and he should have won in a landslide. So some of those talking points that President Trump would like to hear from other leaders were mentioned by Vladimir Putin. I mean, he talked about how the previous president, which was President Biden, did not listen to President Putin, and there would have been no war, which is what President Trump had been saying along. And Vladimir Putin said the exact same thing. Had President Trump won the 2020 election, we would not be in this situation. So there are a lot of flattery, from President Putin, not so much as from President Trump. But I think it was President Putin who wanted to get away from this meeting or get out of this meeting without looking weak. And I think that's exactly what he's done. He's come out of diplomatic isolation, Ashwarya. I think he was, people don't realize this. This is his first ever meeting on American soil with an American president, and it's a big deal. He was not entertained by the previous administration as much as he's right now. They've had at least 6 calls since President Trump has been sworn in as a president, and he's had 1 meeting also in the last 7 months. So it's a big deal for President Putin. He got a delegation with him that wanted to talk about business. President Trump alluded to that as well and said, they will probably start making some kind of business deals with the Russians, but we've got to wait and watch. So big deal, I think a huge day for Russia. As far as President Trump is concerned, I think he's trying to slowly put the ball in Europe's court, or even I would say Zelensky's court, by saying it's up to Zelensky now and he should make a deal, something he said way back in February when Zelensky visited the White House. So we'll have to wait and watch, but looks like I think it was a big win for Vladimir Putin right now.
Right, Rohit, you've made very important points that this is the time when we are seeing for the first time Vladimir Putin on the US soil. Now, one of the other things, Rohit, that we understand at the moment is that the entire Europe is very, very jittery. Now, you just go back during the 1940s, Europe's fate actually was being decided by the United States of America, by Russia, and they were the ones who were not a part of this conversation. We are seeing history repeating itself, and that's the reason why we see a lot of European nations very keenly looking at this conversation that is happening between the United States of America and Russia.
And yes, you're right, Ashwarya, but in this case, President Trump did speak with his European counterparts going into this meeting. But as soon as he was on the plane on Air Force One going to Alaska, he said, I'm not taking directions from European leaders or NATO leaders, and they don't tell me what I need to do. So you're right. I think this is 2 world power making decision, which is what we saw. And this is frankly, I think, President Trump's version of making America great again, where, 2 big powers can settle things about third country and, nobody has a say into it. But I think in this case, it could be a little different. We'll have to see how the round 2 becomes of these talks, especially when President Trump says there's going to be a meeting with Putin and Zelensky, with European leaders, and he may join that meeting. So we'll have to wait and watch. But as of right now, we're still waiting confirmation from what was discussed, what's the sticking point, what was said by the Russians. None of that information has been released by the White House, and everybody's eager to see as to what those sticking points are, because those sticking points will decide, or probably lay the groundwork for what comes next.
You know, Rohit, when we now speak about US President Donald Trump, now one of the things that he was speaking about, and this was when he was even campaigning, he used to time and again say that people think I'm the one who will start wars, but let me tell you, I'm the president who will not start wars, but I'm the one who will stop wars.
He's ended five now, Ashwarya, and there's controversy about the other one. But yes, he has, and he's been taking a lot of claims for stopping the war, and this is a big one. I think if he actually does, end this war or achieve ceasefire, even Hillary Clinton said yesterday that she would go ahead and nominate him for a Nobel Prize. And there are some people in DC that believe that's the deadline he's put himself for. He wants that Nobel Peace Prize this year. So he definitely wants to see a ceasefire before October, and we do not know if he'll get it or not. But at least he's making honest efforts to end this war. And you're right. I mean, even his first administration, there were no wars that were being fought, right? I mean, it's only after he left office is when we've seen all others war that started popping up, including the war in Israel. So President Trump trying to take a lot of credit, but this is a big one. If he actually does stop this one, I think people will stop, why he should or should not get a Nobel Peace Prize. I think at that point in time, he would deserve to get one.
Right, you're Rohit. You know, I think the word of the day is sincere efforts that are now being put in by the US President Donald Trump. Rohit, please stay on with me.